Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So in this video I'm going to talk about the bracing that I've used in this tank, and the bracing that I went with in this tank is basically the corner bracing. So the tank is about 18 inches long and 18 inches wide and about 18 inches high, so about 1.5 feet in each direction. So this is basically a square tank, and I'm planning to build this into a planted tank. So 18 inches is about good enough height for my taste, and the glass that I'm using is about 8 millimeters. Now if the tank was longer, I would have went with cross bracing. So cross bracing is basically, if this is the length of your tank, you put a cross in between the back side and the front side of your tank, so that when you fill the tank with water, the water creates a lot of pressure on the walls of the tank, and because of which the walls of the tank starts bending, and there is a little bit of elasticity, and if the glass bends more than that elasticity that the glass has, the glass can crack and your tank may burst open. That's why we use cross bracing. In this case, because the tank is not very long, I went with the corner bracing. Although for 8 millimeter glass, I don't think corner bracing would be needed, but I just went with the bracing because I wanted the tank to be sturdy, and I didn't want the tank to fail on me when I was doing stuff with my tank, because I will be doing a lot of things with this tank, changing filters and changing plants, putting different things in, taking different things out, perhaps moving this tank a lot. That's why I put braces on the tank. So basically these are 8 millimeter, which my aquarium is also 8 millimeters. So I had the glass cutter cut these triangles for me, and I've put these the corners at the corners of my tank, and that's why it's called the corner bracing. The advantage of corner bracing over other kind of bracing is that you get the rimless feel. So if you like rimless tank, by rimless I mean when you don't have any thing covering the rim of your glass, so that you can see the rim of your tank, and it looks very beautiful and it is very aesthetic to look at. And once you put a light on at the back, this is basically a ring light, a small ring light that I'm using to show you guys. So once you put a light on, it looks much beautiful. And once you fill the tank with water, put some plants in and some substrate and a little bit small schooling fish, it looks very beautiful. The other advantage of using the corner bracing is the ability to put any kind of filtration that you want. Let's say if you used this kind of bracing, I've just put this piece on top of the glass just to show you guys. So you can see that if I had used this kind of bracing, it would be difficult for me to mount the hang on the back filter, as you can see there, because the hang on the back filter has to sit on the rim of your tank, and in this case, because the rim is covered by this piece, you can't use a hang on the back filter when you're using these types of bracing. The other thing is that let's say you want to put an internal filter. So I've got an internal filter here, and let's say you put the internal filter down, you attach it somewhere, and the problem is that you can't move the wire up through this glass. You have to bring the wire from this direction around the glass, and then the wire has to go out so that it can be plugged in. So that doesn't look very pleasing, and it also takes away from the look of your tank. The other reason for using the corner bracing is that you can use any kind of lid on top of your tank, and you don't have to create holes in the lid, because if you're using corner bracing and if you use the lid, let's call it a lid for now, and if you put a lid on top of that, you can see there is a small space in between, which will be good for exchange of air. You can also route your cables, your air tubing, or any other piping that you want to bring out or bring into your tank. You can do that. And because you can also use a glass lid, perhaps a little thinner glass or any other kind of plastic you want, you can easily use this with the corner bracing, and the lid will sit on your corner bracing instead of your rim. And because I really like rimless tank, because you can see the rim of the tank, which is very pleasing to look at. It looks very clean and gives your tank a very beautiful look. That's why I went with the corner bracing in this tank, and this was the video about the corner bracing. And let me show you another kind of bracing that you use on longer tank. Okay, so this is the longer tank that I wanted to show you, and in this case there is a couple of ways you can brace this tank. Now because this is a longer tank, you have to use a cross bracing. So cross bracing is basically, there is your back panel of the glass, the front panel of the glass, and you basically make a cross in between your tank, and that's why it's called a cross bracing. And the reason we use a cross bracing in longer tank is because when you fill the tank with water, in this case I filled the tank with water until only here, and I could see the bend in the glass was about 1 millimeter. So what is happening is when you fill the glass with water, the water weight and the water pressure is pushing the glass in this direction, and because of which the glass starts bending in this direction. So after filling the tank up till here, I could see the glass was bending about 1 millimeter. Now 1 millimeter is not a lot of bending, but if the glass bends more than its elasticity, the glass can crack or your tank can burst open, and that's why we put a cross bracing. So because this is put like a cross in between your tank, and this is usually put in the middle of your tank, and that's why it's called a cross bracing. The other way of now if this tank was a little longer, I would have put more than one cross bracing, one in here and the other would go somewhere here. As you can see, now I've got two braces, and this makes the tank much more sturdier and much more stronger, and I can fill the tank a little higher than I wanted to previously. The other way of bracing your tank would be to put the braces on the side. We will put another piece like here, and then other piece will go in the middle like so. Now as I've just shown you the disadvantages of using these types of bracing, because it prevents you from using filter wire. If let's say I wanted to put a hang on the back filter here, I can't do that because the rim is covered by this cross bracing. I can put the hang on the back filter here or there, but let's say if I wanted to put it here, because of some reason I can't do that. Let's say I also wanted to put my any other kind of filter here, I can't do that because the wire will have to come out like that instead of going like that. That's why I don't like these types of bracing. So what you can do in this case, if you have a longer tank, is you can remove this bracing and you still have the cross bracing, and instead of putting a cross bracing on the sides of your tank, what you can do is you can also get a corner bracing for the tank, and you can simply put such glass corners cut out in at the corners of your tank. I'm just using a little bit of tape to show you guys, but you will put this with some silicone, and this is how it will look. You can do this with all the corners of your tank, and the center bracing can still go in the middle, giving you a lot of space to work with, so that if you want to put any other kind of filtration, you can do that. So because I've put now corner bracing in this tank, the tank is still very strong like it was with the cross bracing, and I can still put a hang on the back filter here. I can still route my wires out of here, and the tank still looks much more pleasing. So these are the advantages of using a the corner bracing instead of the cross bracing. So there we go. This was my video on corner bracing and why you should use them, and the advantages of using corner bracing, and the way they make your tank looks much more beautiful than when you're using any other kind of bracing. So I hope you found this video helpful. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.